Good day, everyone. For today, we will be continuing our discussion for the Bill of Rights, and for today, we'll discuss sections 3 until 5 of the Bill of Rights. Okay, so let's start with section 3. Section 3 provides, paragraph 1, the privacy of communication and correspondence shall be inviolable except upon lawful order of the court or when public safety or order requires otherwise as prescribed by law. And second paragraph provides that any evidence obtained in violation of this or the preceding section shall be inadmissible for any purpose in any proceeding. So let's tackle first the first paragraph, the privacy of communication and correspondence. So communication and correspondence are two different things, but in the context of English language, the word communication refers to how we communicate, how we converse with other people, be it verbal or non-verbal. But in the context of law, the word communication, as used in the first paragraph of section 3, it refers to verbal communication, while the word correspondence refers to writing. Okay, so please don't confuse yourself, student, with the distinction between communication and correspondence. Communication refers to verbal conversation between two persons, while correspondence refers to the exchange of written, no, written, be it letters or even text messages or emails to from one person to another. This privacy of communication and correspondence shall be inviolable except upon lawful order of the court. Hindi pwedeng labagin ang pagkapribado ng komunikasyon at correspondence, no? At tanging utos lamang ng korte ang pwedeng maging daan para ma-violate ang privacy na ito. Okay, so which means logically na pwedeng malabag ang privacy of communication and correspondence for as long as there is a lawful order of the court. Okay, or if the court orders the tapping or wiretapping of a communication between one person and another person, or when public safety or order requires otherwise. Okay, which means that even if there is no order of the court, that particular evidence, like a communication and correspondence between two persons, can be admissible as evidence if it has something to do with public safety or order. Okay, so later on, we'll be talking about that. So this section covers letters, telephone calls, and messages. Telephone calls refers to communication, while letters and messages refers to correspondence. So the question now is the privacy of communication and correspondence absolute? The answer is a big no, because we have two statutes which are anti-wiretapping law and anti-terrorism law. So these are court-authorized taps are allowed for the crimes of treason, espionage, provoking war and disloyalty in case of war, piracy, mutiny in the high seas, rebellion, conspiracy, and proposal to commit rebellion, inciting rebellion, sedition, conspiracy to commit sedition, and kidnapping. Actually, the following cited violations are under the revised penal code. But going back to the question, is the privacy of communication correspondence absolute? Of course, it's no. Okay, the answer is no. Why? Um, Again, there are cases according to section 3, paragraph 1, going back to section 3, paragraph 1, that if public safety or order requires to violate the privacy of communication correspondence, then of course the court will grant or the court will admit a particular recording as an evidence. Okay? So later on, itong anti-wiretapping and anti-terrorism law, these are all requires technical and in-depth knowledge, considering that these provisions or these are new laws, no, and provisions of these laws have yet to be applied in cases, no? Now let's talk about section 4. By the way, going back to section 3 pala, class, Any evidence obtained in violation of these or the preceding section shall be inadmissible for any purpose in any proceeding, which means that if there is no lawful order of the court, and if it does not require, or if public safety order does not require for a person or for the government to violate the privacy of communication and correspondence, then of course a particular recording or a particular evidence cannot be admissible or cannot be admitted as an evidence. Okay? Dahil violate nila yung privacy of communication and correspondence kahit wala namang utos ang korte at kung hindi naman kinakailangan ng public safety or order, hindi tatanggapin yon bilang ebidensya dahil violate mo yung privacy ng dalawang tao. Okay. Let's move now to section 4. No law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. So basically, section 4 talks about the freedom of expression. Now, why is freedom of expression guaranteed in the Constitution? Number one, it's essential for the search of truth. Remember that Section 4 covers not only expression but by the press, freedom of the press. So press is the watchdog of the public over the government. So public relies mostly on the media in search for truth. So the role now of media is not to sensationalize or romanticize a particular fact, but to just deliver the fact. So again, Section 4 is guaranteed in the Constitution because freedom of expression is essential for the search of truth. Number 2, essential for democracy to work. Remember that the Philippines is enjoying democracy or freedom. So, in order for democracy to work, people are vested with the freedom to express themselves, to express ourselves. Number 3, essential for the citizens to promote self-realization and self-determination. If you'll try to look at Section 4, no, right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. So binibigyan ng karapatan ng Section 4 ang mga tao na magtipon-tipon para kanilang ilabas ang kanilang hinaing laban sa gobyerno. So in pursuit of that particular goal, the citizens promote now self-realization and self-determination. Dahil na-realize nilang may kakulangan sa kanila o may kakulangan ng gobyerno na hindi nila na-enjoy. Section 4 also guarantees for the prohibition against prior restraint. The question is, what is prior restraint? Prior restraint is the actual and official governmental restrictions of the press and other forms of expression in advance actual prohibition or dissemination. Meaning, Section 4 class prohibit the government from repressing media, from preventing media to disclose facts against the government or about the government. So hindi po pwede yun. Pinagbabawal po yun ng Section 4. Now we have what we call libel and obscenity because freedom of speech is not an absolute right, diba? If you'll try to recall our discussion last time, I already emphasized that no freedom is absolute. There's no such thing as absolute freedom. Okay? So freedom of speech is not an absolute right. Like for example, we have libel. Under the revised penal code, it defines libel as a public and malicious imputation of a crime or of a vice or a defect, real or imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstance tending to cause the dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural or juridical person, or to blacken the memory of one who is dead. So libel does not only cover a person who is alive, even a person of a dead, or even imputing something which is not right over a dead person constitute libel. Now, I would like also to inject an additional or supplemental knowledge about libel and what we call oral defamation. because most likely some of you confuse these two terminologies. Libel and defamation are two different things. Okay? Their distinction lies on the medium kung paano may pahayag yung hindi katotohanang statement or malicious statement. Like in libel, no, pag sinabi nating libel, this is through writing, in writing, okay? Or publications. For example, even if you post something on Facebook, it's already publication. Okay? Your post has been published and therefore people could see what you are trying to imply. Okay? Now, on the other hand, we also have what we call oral defamation. Oral defamation or defamation, again, from the word itself, oral, okay, it's being said, it's verbal. Okay? So, if you say something against one person, doon sa mga kaibigan mo na hindi naman totoo, that could cause you to face a lawsuit again for oral defamation. Example, there was one case in the program Ipaglaban Mo where um, let's say A is accusing B na siya daw, yung si B daw ay isang mangkukulam or a witch. Okay? So since naapektuhan yung moral ni letter B, B filed for oral defamation against A. Okay? So you have to be very, very careful with what you are saying to another person. If that statement is untrue, no, so better I would suggest to just shut your mouth because that might cause you damages, and you will be paying for moral damages to the person you are charging with an offense or with something na hindi naman totoo. Okay? And aside from that, you may also face jail time. Okay? So better maging careful tayo sa mga sinasabi natin. By the way, as an additional information on publication under libel, hindi po kinakailangan na sa newspaper publish. Sabi ko nga kanina, kahit sa Facebook mo i-post, that's already libel. Kasi written, you are using text, you are using letters, you are using words, phrases, no? And apart from that, the law defines the word published or publication when two or more persons see or witness, no, or read a particular statement na hindi totoo, that's already published. So even if you just write something on a tissue, okay, na hindi naman totoo laban sa isang tao na napaka sama, no, and it tend to cause dishonor or discredit or contempt of his person or her person, and pinakita mo yun sa dalawa o tatlong kaibigan mo, that's already published. That's already publication. And you may face the charge of libel. So be very, very careful with the words you write and the words you say for defamation. Now, we also have what we call obscenity. Obscenity is any work taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest. The work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct, and whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So under obscenity, we are talking here now about artworks, about literary. No? So these are outputs, no, na ginamitan ng quote unquote art or artistic appeal, no, and it could also be literary because again literary is an art. Okay, so painting can also be for or under obscenity. So let's move now to section 5. No law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed. No religious test shall be required for the exercise of civil or political rights. Now, under Section 5, you just have to remember and um, You just have to remind yourself of the two significant clauses under Section 5. We have the non-establishment clause and the free exercise clause. So please take note that the word non-establishment clause provides that, again, going back to Section 5, that no law shall be made respecting an establishment of religion, which means that under non-establishment clause, the government cannot dictate or cannot give an aid or tulong sa iisang relihiyon lang, because that would imply that the government is saying that or is favoring one religion. Okay? Again, under the non-establishment clause, the government cannot establish one religion only. And the non-establishment clause is supported by free exercise clause. Dahil hindi pwedeng magtatag o hindi pwedeng magdikta ang gobyerno ng isang relihiyon, the free exercise clause provides that the enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall forever be allowed. So under free exercise clause, binibigyang kalayaan na magtatag ng relihiyon ang kahit sino o kahit anong grupo. Okay? Without discrimination and without preference. Okay? So please remind yourself with non-establishment clause and free exercise clause. So we'll be ending our session here. So I hope you already know what Section 3, what Section 4, and what Section 5 truly means.